All right, lesson 7 of unit 3, debugging. So, the warm up prompt, your friend calls and says, I can't get music to come out of my speakers. Think of a quick list of everything that you would ask them to do or have them check to try to fix the problem. That's debugging. It's taking something that doesn't work quite right and figuring out one by one what is the problem and fixing it. So, we're going to move into an activity after watching a quick video. This video is connected on Google Classroom, so you'll want to go watch the video and then come back here and join me on Code Studio. So, starting on Bubble 2. Again, you've got your instructions there at the top. Do this, it wants you to debug the program. You can notice a couple of things. There's a little warning sign right there saying that, hey, there's something wrong here that you might want to pay attention to. And when you actually run the program, you'll notice that that very quickly turns into a red square, which is an actual error. And then a line pops up in the console log telling you what exactly is wrong. Now, sometimes these are hard to figure out, but try your best and figure out the debugging for this line. It does give you kind of a hint there. And one thing it wants you to notice is that if you go to text mode and run the program, it actually highlights the whole line of code, which is a little bit easier to see. And hopefully you figure out that you have to put strings of text inside quotes. Moving to bubble 3, all they're telling you is that you need to debug this program. You can see that there's a warning right there, and hopefully that's enough to help you realize that once again, strings have to be in quotes. Bubble 4, you're going to run the app, see how it works. Debug to use the correct sound and text when the user clicks each animal. So you can guess that that's what's wrong with the code. Now, this is an example of when there's nothing going to show up as an error in your code, but it's not functioning the way you want it to function. So it's still part of the debugging process. So you'll find that there's just a couple of things that need to be switched around in there, and then it should work fine. Bubble 5 is a little bit similar. There's no errors or warnings going to show up, but you'll notice that whenever you run that, your smiley goes way off the screen, and it's because of this random number right here. The range is too large, so you're just going to have to use trial and error, or what we call iterative testing, to figure out what is the appropriate range to keep that smiley on the screen at all times. Bubble 6. Run the program, add the program so the go back button takes the user back to the home screen. What does that sound like? That's an on event handler. On event, the go back button is clicked, something is going to happen. And so use the existing on event code to help you in creating that new on event. Now, bubble 7, it's telling you to run the program, do this, do that, what weird is happening, and try to debug it. But it's giving you a big hint right here at the top. Don't put on event blocks inside other on event blocks. Probably that's what's wrong. Finally, level 8, you're going to run the program. Again, you're not having any issues, but you will notice that the excited button is not working currently. So you want it to work. Do you want to pick a song image and text to show when the button is clicked? Make sure only the excited button has a thick border when it's clicked. And you can, here's a big hint, you can use code for the other buttons for ideas how to write the code. A lot of times you can copy paste the existing code. I suggest doing that in text mode. If you want to go ahead and copy like an entire on event block, hit Control C, go down here, hit Control V, it's going to, and then switch back to blocks mode so you can kind of move things around. So now you can change that. You can update that to the excited button, and then you can change whatever else you need to inside that code to make it work. Now, debugging is a skill that can be learned. It's made up of many little steps and understandings. Some examples are right here on this slide. Best practices for debugging. So you want to describe the problem. What did you expect it to do? What does it actually do? Does it always happen? Hunt for the bugs. Where are those warnings and errors? And or think about what changed most recently. It wasn't giving me an error, but now it is. Or even explain your code to someone else or have somebody with fresh set of eyes look at your code and try to help you figure out what might not look right. Look for code related to what problem you're getting. Try solutions, make little small changes and try to figure it out. And then document, or I would even call reflect. Think about how that happened and learn from your mistakes so that hopefully the next time you're programming, it won't happen as much, but it'll always happen. Debugging is a important and an entirely normal part of programming. Your code won't always work the first time, and that's okay. Debugging is a skill that you can practice and get better at. Using documentation, leaving comments for yourself are important skills, but so is working with classmates or learning to more effectively search for bugs. We'll keep using these skills. And here are some more debugging strategies. You want to keep your code clean. Use clear, meaningful IDs for your elements. Keep your code organized in chunks that do the same thing. Use comments to explain your code. And write code using blocks. That's going to save you some headaches in trying to figure out where you forgot a semicolon. You want to run your code. Every time you add something, run your code. Run your code a lot. Slow down your code with the speed slider. Watch how it runs closely. Use console log to get output after you do a certain thing to make sure that what is supposed to be happening inside, in kind of behind the scenes, is actually happening. Add extra output statements throughout your code to get feedback on that console log on what parts are running. And then use your classmates and resources. Talk out the problems with a partner or a classmate. Compare your code to examples that you know work. Read the documentation to know how a block is supposed to work. If you're just dragging that block over there and you have no idea what it is, maybe you're going to get an error. And hand trace your code to track what's happening. Here's an example of documentation. This is the blue box that shows up. And if you click on see examples, you'll see like a lot more information about that. So that is a written description of how a command or a piece of code works or was developed. And a comment is a form of program documentation written into the program to be read by people, but it doesn't affect how the program runs. As you grow in your programming skills, you'll start to appreciate how valuable comments can be. You don't have to wait until a program is complete to write the comments. You should be doing this as you develop the project. And there will be opportunities to write comments called out in the app project you're currently working on.